I want to talk to you today about a gentleman named John Rawls and his conception of capitalism. His conception of capitalism is called social capitalism. Now, John Rawls does not have a problem with capitalism. What he has a problem with are the inequalities that can result because people do not follow the rules of capitalism, where everybody should have access to property and add their labor to it, both intellectual and physical, produce a product that they can sell on the open market. If there's more demand for it and less product, then you can charge a higher price. If you can charge a higher price, whatever the difference is between the construction of the product and the sale of the product is called profit. You're entitled to keep profit. However, John Rawls realizes that there are inequities in the system. People, because of greed, decide to take too much property or restrict other people's access to property, and so we don't have what he calls a level playing field. It becomes tilted. And he said in order to rectify those injustices, those economic injustices, it's important that we employ a couple of regulations that allow the playing field to become more balanced. He acknowledges that it's never going to be completely fair. In other words, equally open to everybody who's involved in a capitalistic system. But because the system allows for injustices, as a society, we have a need to try and rectify those. So he has two principles. One is called the equality principle, where we can increase economic justice for everyone. We must do it for everyone, beginning with the people in the lowest access to that equality. For example, there are going to be maybe 50,000 people applying for positions or entrance to medical schools, and there's only going to be 5,000 people accepted. That means 1 out of 10 people is going to go to medical school. Some people go to medical school for altruistic reasons. Probably most do. They want to help people. They want to help cure people or heal people from diseases. But it's also a very strong economic factor for going. Most people who are physicians are very well off financially, and there's nothing wrong with pursuing financial careers. Most of us do that. Most of us are involved in employment that hopefully will give us a comfortable lifestyle. Some more, some less. Those are decisions that we all make. Now, one of the injustices that exists in the example I gave you, people who want to go to medical school, is if you're the son or daughter of someone who's already a doctor and you apply to the same medical school they went to, in the questionnaire, that question will be asked. Do you know anyone who's an alumni of this school? And if you say yes, they tell you to check the box. That means there's a slight advantage to you. Is it a parent? Yes, check the box. There's a lot of boxes to be checked. Sometimes it's through affirmative action. If society has decided that some people have been denied equal access, sometimes they try and rectify that with affirmative action. Oftentimes it's who you know. Excuse me. If you want to go to one of the military academies, you need to have someone in government recommend you, write a letter of recommendation. If you know that person, it's obviously perhaps easier for you to get that recommendation than if you're not known by that person, a quote-unquote nobody. So there are opportunities for some people that are not available to everyone. Rawls realizes that and acknowledges that, but he says in order to balance the system out, we need to have what's called the equality principle, where we can make the system more equitable, more equal. We, by moral law, are required to do that, beginning with the people who are the least advantaged, the people at the very bottom of the barrel. But he also realizes that that equity principle may not work the way it's intended to, because there are still inefficiencies and inequities that seem to persist in any social relationship that we have with one another. So he also comes up with what he calls a difference principle. The difference principle says where we cannot, through the equity principle, rectify the injustices that seem to occur as a result of capitalism because of things like greed or specific advantage. We know someone who can do us favors that other people don't know. He has what he calls the difference principle, and this would include things like affirmative action, that certain people need to be allowed to at least participate or have access to, even from the lowest or the least qualified people, in an attempt to try and give everybody equal opportunity. You may fail at your endeavor, but those most qualified can also fail periodically. So he has an equity principle, he has a difference principle. These two principles are designed to rectify the injustices, the economic and social injustices that he knows happen in a capitalistic society. And when they're done correctly, at least the playing field goes from tilted in a unacceptable direction to a more equitable direction. He knows this is never going to be completely balanced, but as a society, we have a moral obligation to try and bring balance to the situation so it works to everybody's benefit, including those who are at the very bottom of the social and economic scale.